We heard that Donald Trump tried to make you director of national intelligence.
He tried to make me deputy director of the CIA. Basically what happened was Gina Haspel, of all people, walked into the Oval with Pence and some other deep state operatives, and Gina started crying and said, "You can't do that." Pulled a Bill Barr and basically said, "I'm gonna lose the building." I was like, this is rich coming from the lady who architected Russiagate, is informing the commander-in-chief she tried to take down. Why I, the guy who exposed Russiagate, is not appropriate to be the deputy director of the CIA. It was kind of funny.
I was talking to these former officials saying, what was it that you were so scared he was going to do? And all of them, to a T, said it wasn't about a specific plan necessarily. It was that whatever Trump's whims were that day, his ideology in some ways was just centered around carrying them out.
Well, I think our country is in very serious trouble when you have such blatant political corruption at the highest levels of the U.S. government. Something I never thought I would see in my lifetime. But when you have an administration all acting in concert to try to advance the personal interests of Mr. Trump and abuse the authorities within the intelligence community and the law enforcement community, I really am very worried about what's going to happen in the coming months.
They just need the headline, and then the rest of it doesn't matter to them. Kash Patel is under investigation for what, right? And then if you read into the article, it says, well, anonymous sources have said that Kash may be under investigation. Oh, so I'm not under investigation, or I am? And then what's it for? The DOJ, run by Rod Rosenstein and Christopher Wray, launched an investigation into me during Russiagate and issued grand jury subpoenas for all of my personal information, something that I wouldn't find out till 5 years later, when Google informed me through a disclosure notification that the 5 years had been up, so they were allowed to tell me.
You were under investigation. You didn't know about it.
Right. Almost everyone I worked with in the intelligence community, almost everyone I worked with at DOJ and the FBI and the White House and my other jobs, almost everyone signs up to do the job. Every day they show up to do the mission, and they do it. And unfortunately, certain leadership figures and certain individuals along the way corrupted those enterprises. And this is what Eisenhower warned us about. And the defense industrial complex is an analogy of it, but basically, if you allow it to degrade over decades, then what you get is now the deep state. And that was the warning, that people are going to utilize it, Syria, for the advancement of their personal political gains. You can't kill the bad guys if you can't find the bad guys. You can't find the bad guys if you're looking for DEI and DOD. You know, you can't defend a nation if you order people to focus on white rage and hiring LGBTQ, whatever.
I want to understand white rage, and I'm white, and I want to understand it. So what is it that caused thousands of people to assault this building and try to overturn the Constitution of the United States of America? What caused that?
Who are America's enemies at this point?
It's a good distinction, yes. I would say Russia and the CCP are dynamic adversaries of ours, and they do things that engage our enemies to act either on their behalf or with them in smaller lanes. But like true enemies, Al-Qaeda's back on the rise in Afghanistan, all over Africa. True enemy, you know, the narco-traffickers and the human traffickers down in South America. True enemies, all of those people getting together. Iran is our true enemy, for sure, with the mullahs and the IRGC. And now that Joe Biden has given them almost $10 billion, they have joined forces with our other enemies, the narco-traffickers and whatnot, to invade our southern border, not just install illegal immigrants here, but flood the streets with the drugs and fentanyl, human trafficking, sex trafficking, child crimes. Those, to me, are our biggest enemies.
You didn't mention the globalists.
Yeah, well, they go without saying. The World Economic Forum guys, they're just as bad as the rest of them.
But there does seem to be a level of interface, you know, between the globalists and these enemies you're referring to.
Yeah, 100%.
Like why would these globalists or deep state operatives want to leave America so vulnerable to this invasion?
Money, power. Those guys are in those positions because they know how to hold power and hold money. And they don't care who they offend when they make a profit. That's why they don't care if they go to actual terrorists like the Iranians and that regime or Al-Qaeda or whatever. They don't care. And so they've always been in bed with whatever entity is going to make them a profit. And Trump is the opposite of that to them.
I believe in America. As President of the United States, I will always put America first, just like the leaders of other countries should put their country first also. But America first does not mean America alone. When the United States grows, so does the world.
So he didn't commit to the endless wars, essentially, that they wanted, that
No.
they tried to get him into,
That's
like
what
North Korea, like Iran, like Syria. He was basically saying, "I'll make peace with Kim Jong-un. I'll go over there."
You could not help but think of the historic moment, certainly, of a U.S. president walking across that demarcation line.
And he did that, right? Like, he was the only president in modern history to not start a new war. The only one. And he was the only president in modern history to stop multiple theaters of war. And the defense industrial complex, the Pentagon, some of their leadership was ticked. He's like, wait a second, every president has promised that in my entire lifetime, but no one's actually implemented it. And he did it, and they hated him for it.
I always bear in mind the 500,000 plus that are, have lost their life in this unnecessary war in Ukraine, which absolutely would never have happened if, a lot of the attacks against, people like myself as a way of taking down President Trump had not played out in the way that they eventually did. So that's, to me, the biggest tragedy.
There was no collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia. Even CNN admits the report is a devastating blow to the agency and exonerates Donald Trump.
The FBI operated with bias and different standards between Trump and 2016 Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton. And finally, even though the report offers a scathing rebuke of the FBI's conduct regarding the Trump-Russia probe, it does not recommend any new charges against individuals.
I'm the guy that's going to tell you they need major reforms. I'm going to tell you to shut down the FBI headquarters building and open it up as a museum of the deep state the next day. Seriously, you need 50 guys in Washington running the FBI. You know where you need the other 7,000 agents and lawyers? Across the country chasing down criminals, doing harm to our children, murdering people, pouring drugs into our community, committing fraud. Not in FBI headquarters building. It's an easy fix no one has wanted to do. Same thing with DOJ. Why is there a town in downtown Washington at the Department of Justice? What are they doing? These are brilliant lawyers who need to be employed across the country to prosecute the people the FBI should be chasing, right? Instead of sitting in Washington waiting for their next rotation and their next promotion and, payday or whatever. And then I think you need a DOJ that's willing to go out and prosecute the government officials that violated the law, and not just open an investigation and say, oh, we'll talk to you in 2 years. And DOD is the same thing. You need to completely slash down the Joint Chiefs of Staff. I've never seen so many 4-star generals in my life do less. The Pentagon, so when I ran it, it's 3 million people. It's the largest company on earth. But what company on earth, whether you're large or small, if you lost $1 billion or $1 trillion, would say, oh yeah, here's another $1 trillion.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. We hope you'll subscribe to it. And by the way, you can hit the little bell on there and get notifications every time we produce a video. We hope you'll do that also.